איך אני כעת במשעול ההווה, כילד ההולך לו לאיבוד, כפות ידיים מושטות מבקשות את העזרה, להמשיך איתך את המסע. ובצדדים הפרחים כאילו איבדו את זהותם, מחפשים עוד קרן אור.
Everyone, please settle down and direct your attention quietly to the screen.
עוד לגימה קטנה של מים ממעייני החוכמה, תביא להם את התקווה. הרים ראשי, אשא עיניי אל ההרים במרחקים, וקולי יישמע כזעקה, כתפילת האדם, וליבי יקרא, מאין יבוא עזרי.
If everyone could please be quiet, turn your attention to the screen, give it the respect that it deserves. We're going to start our program in a minute. If you're still entering the auditorium, please do so quietly.
שאל אותי עובר, מה בלב אתה שומר? קשיש העיר כשעל גבו מונח כל עברו, מביט סביב ומחפש את עולמו, כשההווה כל כך קשה לא אומר דבר, ארים ראשי אל המחר. ארים ראשי, אשא עיניי אל ההרים במרחקים, וקולי יישמע כזעקה, כתפילת האדם.
Aaron, can we get the lights on the stage? Thank you.
מאין יבוא עזרי.
Everyone, please quiet down. Over Pesach, many of us were sombered and saddened as we learned of the tragic murder of the D sisters and subsequently that their mother succumbed to her wounds. We posted pictures of Israeli flags as a way of honoring Rabbi D's request to show the unity of Am Yisrael. Whether it was because the D's were English speakers or from a town we knew more about, or because their death was a jarring contrast to Pesach, the holiday on which we celebrate our freedom, or for one of many other reasons, for a lot of us that tragedy hit home. Today, we mourn the loss of the members of the D family, along with 24,210 other souls, some soldiers, other civilians, who are commemorated today. Our goal is to give you a glimpse of who a handful of them were, of the midot that they exemplified, of how their families navigated their loss, to give you a window into their lives and to personalize, albeit in a limited way, the number 24,213. Tomorrow, we celebrate Israel's 75th birthday, and in today's program, you will learn about individuals who lost their lives in the 7+ decades since the state has been established. I would like to welcome all of our community members who are joining us on the live stream this morning. I would like to acknowledge the hard work of the students from whom you will be hearing today without applause: Jason Qualwasser, Avery Haller, Gabe Dewar, Charlotte Filer, Hila Lozer, Hattie Simon, Gabby Rifkin, and Zahava Brenner. and a thank you to Ms. Tganit Weiss for her work in bringing this program to life. At this time, I would like to remind you to silence and put away your devices in a place that they won't distract you during the program. And please give your utmost attention and respect to the students who will be presenting. Jason, you can come on up.
Today I would like to speak about my great-grandfather's brother, Elon Klipstein. He was born on November 30th, 1916 in Berlin, Germany, to Shalom and Frieda Klipstein. He was the fourth of 5 children, and his parents originally named him Franz Josef. Like his siblings, he was an incredibly gifted and talented artist. When he was around 19, he moved to Denmark on Hakshara in order to prepare for establishing a kibbutz in Israel. About a year later, in 1936, my uncle Elon made Aliyah, joining his older brother Ephraim, an active Haganah member, and other family members, all of whom founded other kibbutzim and towns nearby, including Ranana. Upon arrival, he decided to make his name more Israeli. His Hebrew name was Avram Yosef, so he pulled some letters from here and there and eventually produced the name Elon. He first moved to Givat HaShlosha and soon after was married and had a daughter. He then founded Kibbutz Dorot in 1941 alongside other German Jewish refugees. This was the first kibbutz to have a swimming pool in Israel, which is quite amazing considering it's in the Negev. During those years, he and his wife got a divorce. In 1944, he moved to Ayelet HaShachar in the Galil, where he met and married his second wife, Tova, and had 2 more daughters. He wrote much poetry in which he quoted Rachel HaMashoraret, a famous Israeli poet, about the hardships of his life as a chalutz and living and raising a family in Israel. During the Melchamet HaAtzmaut, my uncle Elon was the commander of a small battalion of about 6 other men. The fighting literally arrived at the kibbutz. A bomb knocked the men down, which forced them to take refuge in a bunker. When help arrived, my uncle Elon said to take care of the other men before helping him, despite their insistence that he should be treated first. He was always looking out for everyone else and aiding those around him before himself. After all the men were evacuated, my uncle Elon was transferred to a hospital in Tzfat, where he died on June 6, 1948. He left behind his wife and 3 daughters, the youngest one only being 4 months old. His death was all the more painful as his beloved parents, Shalom and Frieda, and baby sister Rivka were murdered in the Shoah just a few years earlier. He was killed fighting for a cause he truly believed in. His entire life was dedicated to Zionism and establishing the State of Israel, which he was so lucky enough to see become a reality. In my family, we commemorate my uncle Elon each year for the sacrifices he made, which have allowed my family, my grandparents and cousins, his nieces and nephews, to settle in Israel. My uncle Elon gave his life for the belief in a Jewish state, and I know that he would be so proud to know how much of a thriving nation his Israel is today. Yehi Zichro Baruch.
Avner Shimon Getz was born on June 15, 1946, in Tunis, Tunisia. Soon after, his family immigrated to Israel, living on a farm in the Galil, helping start a moshav near Tzfat. After finishing elementary school in the moshav, he studied at the yeshiva in Tzfat for 3 years. There, Avner was able to thrive, becoming a leader. Decisive and confident, he stuck to the various goals he set to himself. He was witty and smart, an example to all around him, God-fearing, and a person who connected well with others. When he returned to his parents' farm, Avner became deputy manager of a local factory and became known for making peace between his employees. Avner was soon preparing to build a house of his own in the moshav, but his plans had to be put on hold. On the eve of the Six-Day War, the Getz family received 2 call-up orders, one for the father and one for the son. Avner and his father used the time left they had until the date of their departure to study the laws of war according to Rambam. At the outbreak of the Six-Day War, Avner served in the paratroopers. In his role, he was one of the first to break through the borderline to Arab Jerusalem, going through the first stages of the battle under continuous fire and fighting honorably throughout the battle. But when his forces approached the walls of the old city, they were hit by the first volley fired at them by the enemy snipers. On the 27th day of Iyar, June 6, 1967, the second day of fighting, He was killed in battle, held in front of Shar Shechem, the Damascus Gate. Please turn your attention to the screen to learn more about the battle and the day of Avner's death.
תשכ"ז, 1967, מלחמת ששת הימים פורצת. צבא ירדן תוקף את ירושלים על מנת לכובשה. העיר מופגזת קשות. חטיבת הצנחנים מצליחה לשחרר את המצור על ירושלים, לפרוץ לעבר הר הבית והכותל המערבי.
הר הבית בידינו, כאן תלמיד, הר הבית בידינו. כל הכבוד. נחל ציון ובונה ירושלים.
אבנר נהרג בדרך שכם בחצר המטרה מימי ירמיהו הנביא בבית הקברות המוסלמי סהרה. אבנר היה אחד מ-182 החללים שנפלו על שחרור ירושלים. אבנר נהרג מכדור של צלף ירדני במקום הנחת תפילין של ראש. אבנר שכב שרוע כמעט 24 שעות עד שחבריו הגיעו לחלץ אותו.
אנחנו הלכנו לחפש אותו. כל אחד אומר, הוא לא יודע. כשנכנסנו הביתה, אחר כך באו להודיע לנו. אז עזבנו את המושב, חשבנו, יהיה יותר טוב.
בני נפל על שחרור ירושלים. ולמחרת השחרור הגעתי.
Avner Gatz was laid to rest in the military cemetery on Har Herzl in Jerusalem. Shortly after his death, his parents moved to Jerusalem, becoming one of the first families to return to the Jewish quarter of the Old City, where his father, Rabbi Meir Yehuda Getz, was appointed chief rabbi of the Kotel. Rabbi Getz founded in 2014 a pre-IDF academy and Beit Midrash named in honor of Avner. He continued to celebrate the memory of his son until his death in 1995. Eitan Milstein will now sing Kshe'alev Boche.
כשהלב בוכה, רק אלוקים שומע, הכאב עולה מתוך הנשמה. אדם נופל לפני שהוא שוקע, בתפילה קטנה חותך את הדממה. שמע ישראל אלוקיי, אתה כה יכול. נתת לי את חיי, נתת לי הכל. בעיניי דמעה, הלב בוכה בשקט, וכשהלב שותק, הנשמה זועקת. שמע ישראל אלוקיי, עכשיו אני לבד. חזק אותי אלוקיי, עשה שלא אבחל. הכאב גדול ואין לאן לברוח, עשה שיגמר כי לא נותר בי כוח. כשהלב בוכה, הזמן עומד מלכת. האדם רואה את כל חייו פתאום, אל הלא נודע הוא לא רוצה ללכת. לאלוקיו קורא על סף תהום. שמע ישראל אלוקיי, אתה כה יכול. נתת לי את חיי, נתת נתן לי הכל, בעיניי דמעה, הלב בוכה בשקט, וכשהלב שותק, נשמה זועקת. שמע ישראל אלוקיי, עכשיו אני לבד. חזק אותי אלוקיי, עשה שלא אבחל. הכאב גדול ואין לאן לברוח, עשה שיגמר כי לא נותר בי כוח.
Yuval Regev was an exemplary person, advanced academically, a star on multiple sports teams, a musical artist, and most importantly, a warm and kind person. Growing up in Cologne, Yuval was well known as a star basketball player for his high school. He was very well liked by both guys and girls, as everyone seemed to find a connection with him. What is very important to note is that along with his popularity, Yuval was known to be extremely sensitive. Yuval's sensitivity led to him being extremely kind and compassionate, often going out of his way to help others or cheer them up. Yuval loved to write beautiful poems and songs for his friends, who appreciated and shared his work. He was a family man and would have done anything for his parents. In fact, he brought a warm, parent-child-like relationship to the army, as he would literally tuck in and hug his fellow unit members to sleep. Yuval was a unique kind of warm. No matter how popular or successful he was, he never let his ego take a hold of him, and instead focused on others more than himself. Yuval entered the IDF in March 1993 as a platoon sergeant in the Givati Brigade. He was a hard worker and ranked his way up to become a commander and eventually a first sergeant. On the morning of April 9th, 1995, Yuval and a number of his fellow soldiers were murdered in a bus terror attack in Kfar Darom. After his death, Yuval's commander said of him that he was always a step above his fellow unit mates, often consulting with higher-ranked officials due to his exceptional leadership and ability to understand and emotionally connect his unit. The term role model gets thrown around a lot. Being such a great leader and an amazingly warm person who was always driven for success, Yuval is an authentic role model. Please turn your attention to the screen to hear about Yuval's parents' memories of him. Yehi Zichro Baruch.
התמונה הזאת זה כל החיים שלו. היא בנויה כמו פאזל. זה הכל, יש כאן מאות תמונות מגיל 0. זה מאוד מיוחד, כן.
יובל היה מאוד מאוד רגיש, מאוד.
אומרים שהוא כיסה את החיילים לפני שהוא הלך לישון. היה עובר, מישהו אמר לו, מה אתה עושה? אז הוא אמר, כמו אמא שלי.
האסון קרה מספר ימים לפני ליל הסדר.
זה היה אמור להיות אצלנו והיה אצלנו. שולחן חג עם שירים עם הכל. כי זה בעצם היה ספתח לזה שאנחנו חיים.
עינת, אחותו הגדולה של יובל, הייתה קרובה אליו מאוד. היא הייתה בת 24 כשקרתה הטרגדיה.
זה שיובל נהרג, זה מאוד שינה אותי בתור בן אדם. אני חושבת שאני בן אדם הרבה יותר טוב היום. אני חושבת שאני בן אדם הרבה יותר מכיל, הרבה יותר רואה את מי שעומד מולי. ואני קצת יותר אוהב את הבן אדם שאני היום, זה בזכותו, אבל זה גם בגללו.
את יובל רגב פגשתי בפעם האחרונה, דווקא בלבנון. היה לנו איזה מפגש כזה של שני חיילים מאוד מאוד עייפים על איזה כבש של נגמש כזה. וזאת הייתה הפעם הראשונה שבאמת יצא לי לדבר איתו, כי הוא היה מפקד שלי ואני הייתי חייל צעיר באמצע מסלול. ופעם ראשונה שככה קצת נפתחנו וזכיתי להכיר בן אדם מאוד חכם ורגיש ומצחיק. והשיר הזה חלל נכתב בהשראת המפגש הזה גם. את הבוז, מי ימלא, מי ימלא את כל החלל.
באמת זה יוצא לנו תמיד טוב וטוב על הנשמה שנזכרים ומשמיעים. הנה עכשיו אתם כאן אחרי 27 שנים, נכון? 27 שנים ועוד פעם מעלים זיכרונות על יובל, אבל סך הכל זה עושה טוב.
Sivan Viner was born to Esther and Yaakov on Motzei Shabbat, June 4th, 1983 in Cholon. Sivan had 5 siblings, David, Michael, Orly, Sapir, and Nir, and lots of friends. Sivan always loved to dance, joined the Horarim dance troupe, and performed on stages throughout Israel, the United States, Germany, and France. Here's a brief clip of her dancing.
את זוכרת, היו לנו זמנים יפים.
On Shabbat mornings, she would take her family to Atari Square and was always the first in line to dance or pick a partner to dance with. Sivan was also excellent at sports, winning medals in track and field races. At the end of December 2001, Sivan joined the IDF at age 18 and made lots of friends. She was assigned to Machana 80, where her job was to teach. On her 19th birthday, she returned to her family to celebrate with a party. The next morning, Sivan walked with her brother to the bus stop to return to her base. However, Sivan never made it back. Her bus was attacked by a car bomb driven by a suicide bomber at the Megiddo Junction. Having fallen asleep on the bus, Sivan was killed by glass shards from the bus window. Sivan's family was greatly affected by the loss of a light in their lives. Allison Fuller and Gavi Yagubian will now sing Darkenu, one of Sivan's favorite songs.
ללכת הלאה עוד הדרך רבה, המסע עדיין לא תם. לא קלה היא לא קלה דרכנו, ועיניים לפעמים כה נוגות, עוד סודות פורחים יש לפנינו, עוד הרים גבוהים וצונני פסגות, רסיסים של אור בדמעותייך, וחיוך שוב נגשש דרכו אליי. כל הטובותינו לפנייך, שימי ראש על כתפי, תני לי ידך בידי. עוד מעט ייתם הנר לגבוה, עוד מעט יובס השקט המבורך, המוח תתחיל לבכוע, לא תלכי לבדק, אני אהיה שם איתך. לא קלה היא לא קלה דרכנו, ועיניים לפעמים כה נוגות, עוד שדות פורחים יש לפנינו, עוד הרים גבוהים וצונני פסוקות. לא קלה היא לא קלה דרכנו, ועיניים לפעמים כה נוגות, עוד שדות פורחים יש לפנינו, עוד הרים גבוהים וצונני פסוקות. לא קלה היא לא קלה דרכנו.
Please turn your attention to the screen.
תופת שהיה הבוקר בצומת מגידו נרצחו 17 בני אדם, 13 מהם חיילים.
ברגע שהורדתי אותה באוטובוס, בתחנה מרכזית, חזרתי הביתה, ואחרי זה לקחת את הילדות של הגן או לבית ספר, שמעתי את זה בחדשות, ואז חיברתי כמה נקודות, הבנתי שזה מה שמדובר. תמיד יש לך תחושות אשם, כי אתה אף פעם לא יכול באמת לדעת אם אני הגורם בעצם למוות שלה. כי אם לא הייתי עובד על זה, שהיא תדחה את הנסיעה שלה לבוקר במקום הנסיעה בערב, אז יכול להיות שזה לא היה קורה.
ואני באותו בוקר, כשהיא נסעה, אמרתי, טוב, תיסעי, שלום. ככה במדרגות אני אומרת לה שלום, וראיתי את הפיגוע, שזה היה ב7:15 בבוקר, ראיתי את הפיגוע בטלוויזיה. כשראיתי את הפיגוע, אמרתי, מסכנה אותה אימא, שצריכה לקבל הודעה שקרה משהו לבן או לבת של. פתאום לקראת שעה 12, קצין העיר, וכנראה שזה היה רופא, באו ומרגיעים אותי. לא יודעת אם זה נכון ששמו לי משהו בכוס, כדי שתייה בכוס מים, כדי שאני ארגע. אני אומרת להם, מה, אתה רוצה לקצין העיר, אתה רוצה להגיד לי שסיוון איננה? היה לי קשה להאמין.
היו לנו זמנים יפים.
ביוני זה יהיה 20 שנה. וסיוון איתי כל רגע וכל שעה, כל הזמן, אם זה בריקודים, אם זה בחוץ, אם זה דיבורים שלה. כשאני נכנסת לכאן, אני חושבת שכל רגע יכולה לבוא, להגיע. וזה לא קורה. ואני חיה עם זה.
האם תקדישי לי קצת זמן, עכשיו שאת הרחק מכאן?
After her death, Sivan was promoted to sergeant and buried in the military cemetery in Cologne. Today, Sivan's bright energy and love of life is remembered by all her friends and her brothers, who believe that she can only live on if they all remember her and strive to do so. Yehi Zichra Baruch.
Benji Hillman, a dedicated soldier and Jew, was born on October 3, 1979, Yud-Bet Tishrei Tafshin Mem, in London, England. In December 1983, following the birth of his younger brother, Benji, his parents Judy and Danny, and his siblings Abigail and Shimon made Aliyah and settled in Ra'anana. At age 14, fierce and independent Benji decided he wanted to attend a boarding school in Pardes Chana, and so he did. Following his high school graduation, Benji enrolled in the B'nai David pre-military preparatory school, where he deepened his connection to Hashem and Medinat Yisrael. In July 1998, after his year in Mechina, Benji enlisted in Sahel and was accepted into the highly competitive and prestigious Egoz unit of the Golani Brigade, named an outstanding soldier during his basic training. In 2000, Benji became an officer, graduating from the course with distinction and held positions in both Egoz and in the Golani Brigade's 51st Battalion. Over the course of his service, Benji was sent abroad twice by the Army, once to the USA to observe the U.S. Rangers in training, and once to Canada to represent the IDF at the annual March for Israel in Toronto, where he also lectured at many schools and businesses. As an officer, Benji was known for his great sense of humor. He was also endlessly caring and had an extreme inner drive to do the right thing. Please turn your attention to the screen to learn more about the person Benji was. But first, Rayu Cohen and Liel Maudi will now sing Milon Kochavim.
רצית לעוף, רצית כבר הלאה עם חצי חיוך, עלית למעלה מיליון כוכבים בשמיים תופסים את הצבע שלך בעיניים, תן רק עוד שנייה אחת לומר לך שלום. רצית להום, הלכת רחוק מדי בתוך הטירוף, אין מי שישמור עליי, מיליון כוכבים בשמיים תופסים את הצבע שלך בעיניים, רציתי שנייה אחת לומר לך שלום. אני רציתי לשיר, אתה הרמת גיטרה, מלאך מנגן לי עכשיו, אז איתך נשארה, מיליון כוכבים בשמיים תופסים את הצבע שלך בעיניים, רציתי לשיר לך, לומר לך שלום. רציתי שנייה אחת לומר לך שלום. תן רק עוד שנייה אחת לומר לך שלום.
The first thing I think about is friendship.
Benji was a very caring person.
In every situation, he was thinking about everyone around him.
From the beginning of his army career, he was a professional in what he was doing.
To see how soldiers listened to him and followed him is amazing. He led sometimes 120, 130, 140 soldiers to be able to influence them on their personal lives. And that's what made him so special as a commander.
And we were always very proud of him. We always gave him as much support as we could, which he didn't really need.
When I looked on Benji and Ayala, I saw the true love in their eyes.
At his wedding, he was on a high.
In the high point of this ceremony, we were all standing downstairs near the chuppah, and then suddenly Benji's brother says, that Benji and Ayala, before they start their chuppah, before they make the kiddushin, they want all of us to pray for the Israeli soldiers. And this is exactly Benji.
When the Second Lebanon War broke out in July 2006, just 2 weeks after his marriage to Ayala, his girlfriend for 8 years, Benji and his Agos unit went to fight in Lebanon, where Benji led his soldiers to camp in the village of Maron Aras. On July 20th, 2006, Kafdala Tammuz Tafshin Samech Vav, at just 26 years old, Benji and his soldiers encountered armed Hezbollah terrorists who opened heavy fire. Benji, along with First Sergeant Nadav Bula, First Sergeant Rafnal Muskal, and First Sergeant Liran Sadia, were unfortunately killed. Benji left behind a wife, parents, a sister, and a brother. Upon his death, Benji was promoted to the rank of major. Benji was described as a brave warrior, a major with endless patience, so gentle and caring, and a dedicated and determined soldier. During Benji's Shiva, his family heard from many people they had never met before how Benji had tirelessly helped them and taken care of them, selflessly and quietly, above and beyond the call of duty. This was a side of Benji his parents did not know about, and they attributed this to Benji's humble personality. They explained, Benji didn't like to talk about himself. He wasn't purposely evasive. He just kept some parts of his life separate from his time with family and friends. Inspired by these soldiers and to honor Benji's legacy and values, Benji's family established Habayit Shel Benji. Run by one of his cousins, Sal Rukra, along with the involvement of many of his other family members, Habayit Shel Benji, located in Benji's hometown, Ra'anana, provides a safe space and exemplary care for struggling lone soldiers. Benji's impact and dedication was profound, both to the soldiers he knew and loved personally and to the ones only his legacy managed to touch. And his values and wishes live on through this bayit. Yehi zichro barach.
Hadar Cohen was born in Or Yehuda to Ofer and Sigalia Cohen. She was the middle child and had an older sister and a younger brother. She was a go-getter. Her friends said that whenever there was something that needed to be done, even if nobody wanted to do it, Hadar was there. She was full of enthusiasm and positivity. When her friends felt too tired or drained to complete a task, she was the one who would energize them and encourage them to keep going. From age 16, Hadar dreamed of serving in a combat unit in the IDF, even though it was an uncommon route for women to pursue. When she enlisted in the Army, she was assigned to be a border police officer. Just 2 months into her service, on February 3rd, 2016, Hadar was sent to her first operation, to patrol the area outside the Damascus Gate in Jerusalem. She excitedly called her father to tell him about it, and as any father would, he reminded her to be careful. This was the last time they spoke. During Hadar's shift, as she was asking a group of Palestinians to show their ID cards, one of them began to open fire. Hadar opened fire and shot him down, but was fatally shot by another member of the group. Her fellow soldiers reported that her decision to fight back spurred them into action, saving their lives and preventing a major attack in Jerusalem, as pipe bombs were found in the car of the terrorists. Please turn your attention to the screen for a video about Hadar. Yehi zechara barach.
הדר נולדה פה באור יהודה. באמת מגיל 16 היא תמיד חלמה להיות משהו שיתרום לצבא. ובעקבות חברה שלה שהתגייסה למשמר הגבול, היא עברה את המבדקים, הגיעה למשמר הגבול. הייתה כל כך נחושה ולוהטת לתרום לצבא. ערב לפני זה דיברנו איתה, אני דיברתי איתה, ואמרתי לה, הדר, תשימי לב, תסתכלי קדימה ואחורה. תשימי לב טוב טוב, ירושלים זה משחק אחר לגמרי, זה כבר לא טירונות, זה ממש בשטח. באותו יום של הפיגוע אני יושב בעבודה ומסתכל באינטרנט, ואני רואה פיגוע בשער שכם, 2 פצועות של משמר הגבול, פצועות קשה. ובאותו רגע ידעתי שזה היא. ראיתי את הגיות צהובות, וידענו שהיא בין הפצועות. לצערנו הייתה פצועה אנוש. דר האהובה שלי, ביתי היקרה. זאת שהייתה קוראת לי אבוש כל הזמן. שהייתה לי האהובה מכל. איך אני אמור להיפרד ממך עכשיו? אני גאה בך. גאה בך ומצדיע לך.
באותו יום של ההלוויה הוא אמר שעד סוף ימיי ננציח אותך ואני לא אתן לאף אחד שישכח אותך.
מאז ועד היום אנחנו בהרבה הנצחות. 14 תינוקות נולדו על שמה של הדר. וההנצחה של הדר עוברת מדור לדור, ועד היום, 3 שנים אחרי, יודעים מי זאת הדר כהן.
כתבו פרח ציון.
הבית נהיה הרבה יותר שקט ממה שהוא היה לפני שהדר הייתה. הדר הייתה מפיחה פה את הבית.
תמיד היא הייתה קריזמטית, היה לה כוחות, היא היה לה... זה היה השאיפה שלה, זה היה החלום שלה להיות לוחמת. היא אמרה, אני אתגייס לצבא במטרה להיות לוחמת, לתת משהו מעצמי למדינה. וזה היה החלום שלה, חלום שחור וארור.
חיים משתנים, כמה שהזמן עובר, הכאב נהיה יותר חזק מאוד מאוד. זה לא משתנה, הכאב רק מתחזק.
It has become an SAR high school tradition to end our Yom Hazikaron program with a video about those who were killed in acts of terror in Israel since the last Yom Hazikaron. One of the people commemorated in this year's video is Ilan Ganelis. Ilan and I grew up in the same small, tight-knit community of West Hartford, Connecticut. We went to the same school, and our parents were friends. His mom watched me grow and kept me safe as my pediatrician. Our families shared a love of Israel, and we both hosted the same shaliach, who not only is like my brother, but a brother to Ilan and his brothers. Ilan was murdered just 2 months ago in the Negev on the way to a wedding of another friend of ours from West Hartford. At his shiva, I heard firsthand from his coworkers about how he showed up every day ready to make a positive change in the community. He was the type of person who made an effort to keep in touch even with his childhood friends. His devastating death reminded me that a loss from the Jewish community is a loss for all of us. Watching his funeral, I listened to his mother say, "He was such a gift in our lives, with so many attributes. He had a whole life of so much potential. He wanted so much to see the world, to soak up every aspect. Our loss is a loss for the world." I will now light this candle in honor and memory of the 24,213 souls we mourn today. Please turn your attention to the screen to learn more about Ilan and the other precious souls who perished as a result of terror attacks in Israel over the past year. Yehi Zichron Baruch.
זה אני כאן, שר אליך, מחפש מילים יפות, להאיר בי את הלילה, לסדר קצת מחשבות.
At least 3 Israelis now at this point have been killed, several hurt in a serious condition from a combination stabbing and car ramming attack in and around the West Bank city of Ariel, again perpetrated just in the last hours. But there's more to this than just stabbing and car ramming. According to the account, the Palestinian terrorist stabbed a security guard and another person near the entrance to the city's industrial park. Then went on to stab 2 additional bystanders at a nearby gas station, all before fleeing in a stolen vehicle. It did not end there. The terrorist then appears to have sought maximum death and destruction, crashing deliberately into other cars on the busy Route 5 highway, getting out, stabbing another person, before stealing yet another vehicle, crashing into more cars on this highway. This time, though, he got out to stab even more civilians. A soldier and other armed civilians nearby were able to shoot him. At this point, he's been described as neutralized at the scene.
We begin in Israel. Officials there say that 7 people have been killed after a Palestinian gunman opened fire outside an East Jerusalem synagogue. Several others have been wounded and are in critical condition. The shooting took place in the Jewish neighborhood of Nev Yaakov. Israeli police are describing it as a terror attack. They say the suspected gunman has been killed. This is the deadliest attack on Israelis in years. The U.S. State Department has condemned the incident, calling it absolutely horrific. And it follows a deadly raid in the West Bank by Israeli troops who say they were targeting militants who were planning an attack.
She has lost 2 of what she calls her most precious jewels. But somehow, Deborah Pally still has strength and her faith. These children were given to us as gifts, treasures to cherish, she tells reporters, as she clutches photos of 5-year-old Yaakov and 8-year-old Asher. Plowed down on Friday at a bus stop just around the corner, in what Israeli authorities say was a terror attack carried out by a Palestinian driver. Pally says she reached the scene to see paramedics administering CPR on one of her sons. We understood we were getting close to the place of death, she says. Her 2 boys buried side by side in Jerusalem, which has become the flashpoint in the current wave of violence sweeping the area. But this grieving mother, who believes her sons were killed for being Jewish, calling for peace and prayer. Don't look for someone to blame. Don't look for revenge, she implores. We are in a place that there is a message from God. They have taken our sweet boys, the innocent. It's so that we will be stronger. Pally says she doesn't need to worry about her children anymore, now in heaven. Asking for prayers for her husband, injured in the attack, still hospitalized under sedation. 6 other children at home. She calls for these sacrifices taken from the people of Israel should not be sacrificed in vain. Take this sacrifice, she says. This sacrifice will bring God's redemption. Hadass Gold, CNN, Jerusalem.
A recent Columbia graduate and Connecticut native is the latest victim in a wave of violence in the West Bank. Elon Ganelis had traveled to Israel for a friend's wedding and was shot Monday while driving on the highway near Jericho.
CBS 2's Alicia Reed spoke to friends remembering him tonight.
A vigil at Columbia University honoring Elon Ganelis, a sustainable development and neuroscience double major who graduated last May.
Because of how much he gave in his time, he just touched so many people.
The 27-year-old was killed last night in the West Bank near the Palestinian city of Jericho. A representative from the Israeli consulate says he was driving when 2 Palestinian terrorists pulled up to his car and opened fire. Ganelis was targeted because he was Jewish, described as loyal, down to earth, and funny. Ganelis was in Israel to attend a friend's wedding. A bright light that had his entire life ahead of him. This young man was no stranger to the Holy Land, a dual citizen. He served in the Israeli Defense Force from 2016 to 2018.
Throughout his service, he was always very welcoming, always was willing to help others.
He was so eccentric in the best possible way, and that's what gave him that magnetic personality that drew so many people to him.
We'll miss you, Elon. We'll miss you forever. I can't believe I'm saying that.
The Israeli consulate flew his family to Israel for his funeral. Now, the Orthodox Young Israel Synagogue in West Hartford Hartford, where he grew up, started a fundraiser for the Ganellas family. They're also offering grief counselors for whoever may need it. At Columbia University, Alicia Reed, CBS 2 News.
חזקה מכל משבר עכשיו תיתן לי יד ונרד אל הים נשחק בו ונצחק על הכל יותר הפחד לא קיים מה לך לדאוג מה לך לדאוג
Out of the Kfar Etzion cemetery once again as thousands of mourners gather for the funeral of Lucy D., who died from her injuries 3 days following Friday's terror attack in the West Bank, which killed her 2 daughters, Maya and Rena. A family of 7, now a family of 4.
Lucy, you shared your love, and you created so much love in exchange. Nothing will ever replace you. Your soul is part of my soul. Your lessons live on in Karen, Tali, and Yehuda, and in me. Your light has traveled across all of humanity in an instant. You held on so we could honor you individually and give you a unique send-off for a unique soul. A soul that has changed and will continue to change so many lives.
Rabbi Leo D. recalls the exact moment he found out about the attack.
I called Lucy. No answer. I called Maya. No answer. I called Rena, no answer. Then I saw a missed call from Maya at 10:52. I hadn't noticed it ring. I hadn't picked up the phone. The feeling that she called me during the attack and I wasn't able to speak to her will come back and haunt me for a while.
Searching for light in such a dark time, he's using his grief as a call for hope.
Let the Israeli flag today send out a message to humanity, which is, we will never accept terror as legitimate. We will never blame the murder on the victims. There is no such thing as moral equivalence between terrorist and victim. The terrorist is always bad.
Hundreds of people have taken to social media in support, waving the Israeli flag as a symbol of unity, using #DSDay to honor the 3 lives taken too soon. May their memories be a blessing.
זה אני כאן שר אליך וצריך מילה טובה שתמיס בי את הפחד שארגיש
Everyone please rise. We'll conclude our program with Mishaber for Chayei Tzahal, a parak of Tehillim, Kel Malei Rachamim and Hatikva. Later in the day we will sound the siren and interrupt class.
Misha Berach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak Ve'Yakov, Hu Yivarech et Chayei Tzva Hagana Yisrael, Ve'anchei Kochot Bitachon Hamdim Al Mishmaratzenu Ve'arei Eloheinu Migbul Lebanon Ve'ad Mibar Mitzrayim, U'min Hayam Hagadol Ad Levor Ha'arava U'Bakol Makom Shehem Be'Yabasha U'Ba'avir U'Bayam. Yiten Adonai et Toivenu Hakamim Aleinu Negafim Lifnehem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yishmor Ve'Yatzil et Chayleinu Mikol Tzara V'Tzukah U'Mikol Nego Machala. וישלח ברכה והצלחה מכל מעשי ידיהם. ידבר שוננו תחתיהם וטרם בקט ישועה וירתן ניצחון. וכיהם בהם כתוב, כי אדוני אלוהיכם ההולך עמכם להילחם לכם, עם אויביכם להושיע אתכם ונאמר אמן.
שיר למעלות אשא אל ההרים, מאין לבוא עזרי. עזרי מעם אדוני עושה שמיים וארץ. אל ייתן למות רגליך, אל ינום שומרך. הנה לא ינום ולא יישן, שומר ישראל. אדוני שומרך, אדוני צילך, על יד ימינך. יומם השמש לא יככה, וירח בלילה. אדוני ישמורך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך. אדוני ישמור צאתך ובואך, מעתה ועד עולם.
El Molei Rachamim, Shochein Bamiromim, Hamitzei Menucha Nechona, Al Kanfei HaShechina, B'ma'alos Kedoshim Torim V'Giborim, Kizohar Horakia Mazhirim Linishmos Chayalei Tzva Hagana Yisrael V'lochamei HaMachtaros Shenaflu B'milchamos Yisrael V'chol HaLochamim B'marchosam Shecherfu Nafsham Lamusa Kedushas Hashem Uve'ezras Elohei Malchos Yisrael Heviyu Liskumas Ha'uma B'hamdina V'gulas Ha'aretz V'yirho Elohim V'chol Eile Shenirtzechu Ba'aretz Mechutz Allah B'idei HaMeratzchim Me'irgunei HaTeror Lachein Ba'al HaRachamim Yastirei B'seiser Knafav Li'olamim B'yitzror HaChayim Es Nishmasam Adonai Hu Nachlasam B'Gan Eden Tehei Menuchasam V'yanuchu B'Shalom Mishkavam V'yamdu L'goralam L'keitz hayamin V'nomar amen.
dismissed your fourth period classes, please exit the auditorium quietly. If you are in Kochava Lab tomorrow, please come to the front of the auditorium.